is a Wendell Berry essay that I grapple with. It is entitled, "The Tyranny of Charity." And in it, because Wendell Berry understands the local economy, he says it's not enough just to give people a handout and help. Sometimes there are emergency situations and that's what's needed immediately. But long term, how do we create jobs? Long term, how do we educate our young so we're not losing everyone under the age of 35 off island because they can't be employed here? We have moved from a local economy to a global economy, things that boggle the mind. I didn't study this stuff in high school, nor did I study it in college. These are things that have happened as I've grown into adulthood. And it's an amazing problem. But the human response, what is great about the stories of literature, what is great about the story of the gospel, is it elicits a response to human need. Wendell Berry says we need more than charity. That charity itself can become a tyranny. That we need to see jobs, meaningful jobs created for people so that they may work. I'm not an economist. I'm not a political scientist. But I can respond to needs. The brain power on this island is tremendous. We have people here year-round and seasonally who have great intellect and great compassion. And so this message this morning is not a quick fix to propose and let us do X. Let us take the next 3 steps. No. I want to raise our consciousness. If you have a child in the ages of 20 to 30, many of us have children who are college graduates who can't find work either. I mean meaningful work. They can find work at McDonald's. They can find work at Best Buy or Staples for $10 an hour. But finding something to pay the student loans that they're facing is next to impossible. 2 weeks ago in the Sunday New York Times, the entire magazine was devoted to the 20-somethings. The phenomenon is that young people, post-college graduation, are having to return home because they can't afford to live somewhere. What is Jesus' response to people's needs? How do we respond in the spirit of Jesus? I am not expecting an miracle. I am not expecting Jesus to descend down here and wave some kind of hand and bless us and the boats are overrunning with fish. But I am expecting that as you and I affirm every Sunday morning for the love of the truth and in the spirit of Jesus, we gather for the worship of God and the service of humanity. How can we serve? We can care. We can be aware. We can begin to pull together at the local level. There's some fine work being done at the Stonington Economic Council right now. People are working on this problem. I'm raising it to your attention this morning because it's very real when you think that people over 50 are finding it tougher and tougher to find a job. Professional people. What do you do? Do you drain your 401k? What do you live on? And those of us who are in the sandwich generation, those of us who have grandchildren, and those of us who have parents who are still living are facing it on both ends. The question that I put before us this morning is how can we make a difference on this island? I think becoming aware of what the Stonington Economic Council is doing is helpful. Looking for ways that we can creatively offer this building to people who need job training is another. There are all kinds of things that we can begin to imagine. But if we wait for a miracle, it is not going to happen. The miracle starts with you and me. It's walking along the road like the Good Samaritan, seeing someone beaten up by life and saying, I care, I'm going to help pick you up, and I'm going to help get you on your way, and then help them to be self-sufficient. I believe that there are two purposes in public education. One, to teach people to be fully self-determining and to live as independently, as successfully as possible for their entire lives. Democracy and education are intertwined. An educated democracy, an educated citizenry is going to critically think. They're not going to be swayed by a mob of speakers who get up with flash-in-the-pan speeches. They're going to analyze. They're going to be thoughtful, and they're going to respond. And I think the second role of education is not only to make us fully democratic citizens participating in our own futures, but secondly, that education helps us through literature, through the sciences, through all of the things that we can be taught to have the skills that are necessary to prepare for a future which we cannot safely predict. Dr. Linda Darling-Hammond, from her book published in May of 2010, Dr. Hammond said that in 2004, the 10 top jobs in this year of 2010 did not exist in 2004. We don't know what we're preparing people for. And it is going to take critical and creative thinking, skills, and imagination. And it's going to take a whole lot of love and compassion and concern. I invite you to be aware. I invite you to think about. And then use your imagination. For some of you, it may be writing a note of encouragement to someone who's unemployed and saying, I know that you're struggling and you're in my thoughts. Or it's that kind word, or thinking about a job that you've heard about. Did you hear about this? And then together as a church, I hope in the next year we'll ask ourselves this question: how can we make this island more sustainable in its own economy? Because the Jesus of the gospel wasn't running around preaching about heaven and people going to hell. He was helping people who were struggling with everyday problems like fishing and not catching anything. And may God give us the imagination and the creativity and the compassion to care. Amen.
Amen.